So this next video is how to use Excel in terms of plotting your graph and putting a gradient in. So I just put in some really random variables here. So just I've called this one the x-axis and this one the y-axis. Okay, because this is one that you want to have plotted on your x-axis and this is the one you're going to have to want plotted on your y-axis. So normally your independent variable and your dependent variable. And I've just made up some data to go in there. So what I then do is I highlight let me just highlight those two. Sorry, it wasn't letting me do that for a second. And I click on my insert chart. Now, for me, because I always use scatter graphs, it's automatically done it. But if you need to go to chart type, okay, have a look at the top. And if you go down towards scatter to make sure it is on there. We then want to go into customize. So I'm going to go into, first of all, my series. This is going to help me plot my gradient. So first of all, I want to have a trend line. So I'm going to put a trend line through this. Now, for me, this is a linear trend line, but sometimes you might have a curved one. So you might have an exponential. Okay, you might have something that's a polynomial. It's more curved going through. Okay, but in this case, I was looking for a linear trend. So I'm going to use linear. Okay, I can also change things around if you want to for things like my line color. Let's say also maybe my dots. I would always use a circle or I would use the X mark. The X one though, if I'm using it, I'm always going to increase it so that I can see it. Okay, so maybe to 10 on there, and I might change that as well, just so it's really nice and clear for me. Usually as well with this, I can't actually see that last data point. So some of the things I want to be able to do, and sometimes you might find this, is that you need to play around with these axes a little bit. So in this case, I'm going to put my minimum value in on my Y as 0, and my max I'm going to put to 900 so that I can see it coming in. So I can now see that nice little data point in there. I could also do the same with the X, but I can see my X values really clearly, so I don't feel like I need to. The other things then is looking then at my titles. So on my graph's titles, I want to have things like the y-axis. Okay, but let's say the y-axis was measured in units. Okay, so I want to have the unit on there, and the horizontal axis, okay, again measured with my unit. So looking at those, again, at the top, I could also actually just directly type into them. So how does the x-axis affect the y-axis? The other thing that I would also sometimes do, depending on your experiment, is you could also add in your equation on here. Okay, so going back to series, if I go down underneath trend line where I've picked my linear, I could click label and I could go use equation, and that gives me a equation up here, and that's the equation is equal to y equals mx plus c, so our linear equation that we were looking at. So in this case, it tells me that my gradient, okay, this negative gradient is minus 50.7, so it goes down 50.7 each time, which tells me that my y-axis is going down almost about 51 each time. Okay, it also tells me that it started at 806 in terms of my line of best fit. Okay, so my y-intercept is 806 there. Okay, which isn't maybe exactly what it was, because we actually started at 800, so that does show me there's a little bit of error in there. Okay, so again, that's just simply having to put in your graph. You could then just copy it in, so you could just copy it and put it into your document that you're using. But there you go, just a nice little quick one on how to do graphs.